Weddings are supposed to be the day where everything, finally, comes together. The dress, the vows, the terrible DJ you hire because he reminds you of your uncle with a microphone. I planned for all of it. I expected nerves, maybe a few tears. What I didn't expect were 5 empty chairs staring back at me like open accusations. I'm Jason Miller. I'm 29. And on the day I married the love of my life, Rachel, I learned exactly where I stood with the people who were supposed to love me most. It was a perfect May afternoon in Chicago. The sun lit up the rooftop venue like something out of a rom-com montage. Rachel looked like a 1,000-watt miracle walking down the aisle. I should have been the happiest man alive. But there they were. 5 pristine, white chairs in the front row, each with a little gold card. Mom, Dad, Samantha, Ethan, Tyler. All of them empty. My parents. My sister and her fiancé. And my best friend since the 5th grade, the guy who was supposed to be my best man. I'd saved a seat for each of them. Reserved their meals. Paid for their accommodations. Sent reminders. Triple confirmed RSVPs. They didn't even bother texting. I kept telling myself there had to be a reason. Delayed flight. Uber stuck in traffic. Someone got sick. Maybe Tyler had a family emergency. Maybe my dad's knee had flared up again. But by the time the music queued up and Rachel started walking down the aisle, the reality settled over me like wet cement. They weren't coming. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Rachel deserved my full heart, not a fractured one. So I smiled. I held her hand as she reached the altar. I whispered my vows like nothing was wrong. Like my mother wasn't supposed to be crying in the front row. Like my sister hadn't posted a photo just last week captioned, "Can't wait to see you walk down the aisle, big bro." Instead, Samantha and her fiancé were MIA. So were my parents. And Tyler, the guy who once tackled a kid in middle school for stealing my sandwich, hadn't even replied to my "See you Saturday" text. I got through the ceremony. Barely. The officiant pronounced us husband and wife, and the crowd erupted in cheers. I saw my cousin Emily in the second row, her eyes locked on mine, filled with something between sympathy and restrained fury. At the reception, I did what people like me are trained to do. I smiled. I laughed. I clinked glasses. I posed for pictures. Rachel's family was lovely, supportive, overjoyed. Her dad cried during his speech. Her mom hugged me so tight I thought she might have felt how hollow I was underneath the tux. Rachel noticed. Of course she did. She asked softly, "Still nothing?" I shook my head. Nope. We danced. We cut the cake. We even snuck off to the corner of the rooftop to eat sliders in peace. But through it all, I couldn't stop glancing at my phone. Still blank. No calls. No "sorry, we're late." No last-minute apologies. Just silence. When the night ended and we walked back to the suite hand in hand, Rachel kissed my cheek and whispered, "We made it. Just us." And that's when I started to realize maybe just us had always been enough. I just hadn't seen it clearly, until 5 empty chairs forced me to. The morning after our wedding, Rachel and I woke up in the hotel suite that still smelled like flowers and frosting. There were crumpled suits on the floor, a bouquet halfway out of a vase, and a fancy breakfast neither of us touched. I sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling through my phone. Still nothing from my parents. Nothing from Samantha. Nothing from Tyler. Then, right as I was about to put the phone down, a new message finally popped up. "Hey sweetheart, hope the wedding was lovely. We need to talk when you have a moment." That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just a message from my mom like she missed brunch, not her own son's wedding. I replied with one word. Why? A few minutes later, my dad responded. First time he texted me in weeks. "It's complicated, Jason. Samantha's fiancé's family flew in from New York and we couldn't be in 2 places at once. Hope you understand." Hope I understand. I showed Rachel. She stared at the screen like it was in another language. They skipped your wedding, because of an engagement party? Not a wedding. Not a medical emergency. Not even a funeral. An engagement party. And not just any party, one Samantha had scheduled just 3 weeks earlier. After we'd already sent our invites. After we'd booked the venue. After my parents had RSVP'd. Yes. I didn't answer them. I didn't trust myself to. We flew to Mexico the next day for our honeymoon, but I carried that message like sand in my shoes. Every beach walk, every cocktail, every moment I should have felt joy, I kept replaying those words. We couldn't be in two places at once. As if they'd been forced to pick sides. Spoiler, they didn't hesitate picking hers. I'd been second place my whole life. Samantha was the golden child, the miracle baby, the one they had. After they learned how to parent better. I was the trial run. The kid who had to mow lawns and clean gutters while Samantha got dance lessons, new iPhones, and a literal pony when she turned 16. A pony. I didn't get a birthday cake that year because money was tight. When we got back from our honeymoon, I called my cousin Emily. She hadn't said anything at the wedding, but her eyes had, and I needed answers. She hesitated at first. Then sighed. Jason, they were never planning to come. What? They told everyone at the party you scheduled your wedding to upstage Samantha's engagement. I froze. That's a lie. We picked that date 6 months ago. I know, Emily said. I was there. I saw the invite list. But they said you moved the date out of jealousy. I didn't even know what to say. Jealous? Of what? Samantha getting engaged to a guy who wore loafers without socks and called himself an investor, without specifying what he actually invested in. Then she added, voice softer. Tyler told people you didn't even want him as best man. That's why he stayed away. That one hit worse. Tyler? The guy I trusted with every dumb secret? The guy who once helped me through the worst year of my life when Rachel and I briefly split up. He said you'd been distant. That you didn't think he supported your relationship. I laughed, cold and bitter. He ghosted me for her. Just like the rest of them. Rachel walked in just then, holding 2 mugs of coffee. She didn't ask for details. She just handed me one and kissed my forehead. You don't need them, she said. I nodded. But deep down, something cracked that day. Not because they skipped the wedding, but because they lied about why. And that meant something worse was coming. 2 weeks after the honeymoon, Rachel and I hosted a small dinner at our apartment. Nothing fancy, just lasagna, cheap wine, and friends who actually cared enough to show up. Emily came too. She brought a bottle of Pinot and, without warning, dropped a truth bomb over garlic bread. Jason, I didn't want to say anything at the wedding, she began. But I think you should see this. She pulled out her phone and turned the screen toward me. A photo from Samantha's engagement party. There she was, posing with her fiancé, champagne flute in hand, center stage in a room full of streamers and glowing friends. But it wasn't the backdrop I noticed. It was the necklace. A delicate strand of vintage pearls with a small sapphire in the center. Our grandmother's wedding necklace? I blinked. Is that? Emily nodded. I thought she was just wearing a copy. But it's not. That's the original. No, I said, shaking my head. Grandma left that to me in her will. Mom told me it was damaged, that it wasn't wearable. Yeah. That's what she told everyone, Emily said. But apparently she gave it to Samantha instead. Said it made more sense for the woman in the family to have it. My stomach turned. That necklace wasn't just jewelry. It was a piece of my childhood, of Sunday visits and warm hugs and stories told over tea. Grandma had worn it at her wedding, her 40th anniversary, and the day she held Rachel's hand and told her, "Take care of him." That necklace was the last thing she ever promised me. And now it was draped around Samantha's neck at the party she threw to upstage my wedding. I stared at the photo. Rachel sat beside me, her hands slowly wrapping around mine. Jason, she said gently, I'm so sorry. It wasn't just petty anymore. It was personal. Intentionally cruel. I didn't reply to my parents' messages after that. Or to Samantha's comment on our wedding photo post. So happy for you guys. Wish we could have been there, 2 hearts. As if she'd missed it because of traffic, not because she threw a competing event. But I didn't rage. I didn't blow up the family group chat. I didn't post receipts on Facebook. Instead, I started collecting every voicemail, every text, every comment that came back to me through friends and Emily, lies, snide remarks, all of it. Tyler's so-called version of events where I replaced him with a coworker at the last minute. My mom telling people we excluded them with a private ceremony. Samantha painting herself as the heartbroken sister who just wanted both things to be celebrated. Rachel supported me every step. She didn't push. She didn't ask for vengeance. But she did say, one night over takeout, if you ever want to do something about it, I'll back you. So I got to work. I poured myself into my job. I got promoted. Again. Then again. Rachel and I moved to Dallas. A fresh start, no ghosts. I flipped my first property. Then a second. Within 18 months, I was running my own team and managing investment deals on the side. My parents never stopped pretending. Holiday cards arrived, signed, "Love, always." Samantha invited us to her bridal shower. Tyler sent a half-hearted, "Hope you're well." After 9 months of silence. I stayed silent. But not because I'd forgiven them. I was building something. Something real. Something strong. And I was going to make sure that when I finally said something, they'd have no way to lie their way out. By the time Samantha's wedding announcement dropped, a glossy card with gold leaf accents and a photo of her twirling in a vineyard like she invented wine, I had a folder on my desktop labeled, "In case they keep pushing." They did. The invitation was thick. Heavy cardstock, mailed in a matching box. "Please join us in Napa Valley for a weekend of celebration," it read. Like we were all still playing happy family and hadn't ghosted each other across multiple states. Rachel found it in our mailbox one afternoon. She opened it silently, held it up, and just said, "You think they sent this as bait?" I didn't answer. But I added it to the folder. At this point, I'd already spent almost 2 years building my life back up. New city. New title, Director of Strategy. New network of people who valued me for who I was, not who I was supposed to be. Rachel had launched her own event planning business, and was now booking clients faster than she could print business cards. We were solid. So when I got a call from Emily, the kind that starts with, "Please don't freak out," I didn't. I listened. "I found something in Grandma's estate files," she said. "An amendment to the will. Handwritten. Signed. Witnessed." I stopped pacing. "Go on. She did leave the necklace to you. But it also says may be worn by Samantha for her engagement party, with Jason's permission only." I blinked. "What?" "She borrowed it, Jason. She never owned it." My mouth went dry. And Mom never told me that part. Nope. But the document's real. I'm emailing it now. When I opened the file, I just sat there staring at Grandma's unmistakable cursive. My name. Samantha's. The date. The line that changed everything. To Jason, with love and trust. Samantha may borrow it, only if approved. I closed the file. Stood up. Looked around our home. Everything we'd built without a dime of family support. And for the first time in 2 years, I didn't feel hollow anymore. I felt ready. Rachel walked in, holding a glass of wine, and raised an eyebrow. "You're doing the thing." "What thing?" "The I'm about to destroy someone's public image without raising my voice thing." I grinned. "Is it that obvious?" She nodded. "So, what's the plan?" "I want it back," I said. "The necklace." "And if they refuse?" I paused. "Then I'll show up with the legal paperwork." On her wedding day. Rachel didn't even blink. "Want help drafting the letter?" We called an attorney that week, a quiet, no BS guy named Charles who dealt with estate disputes and had a stare that could freeze lava. I gave him the document, the photo from Samantha's party, and copies of every message, RSVP, and calendar date proving we had scheduled our wedding first. He looked through everything, nodded once, and said, "We can issue a formal demand. If it's not returned, we escalate. I suggest timing it just right." Rachel smiled. "Oh, we will." 3 weeks later, I learned that Samantha's wedding was taking place at a vineyard estate in Napa, a weekend-long event, with a guest list that included influencers, a live jazz band, and one of those flower walls people use for Instagram. Perfect. We held off on sending anything. We waited. I kept my distance. And the whole time, my parents kept posting things like, "So proud of both our amazing children, and can't wait to watch our little girl walk down the aisle." Sure. Just not the first one, right? Rachel and I booked a dinner reservation in San Francisco for the same weekend, anniversary getaway. Conveniently located. Just in case anything needed to be delivered. When the final week arrived, I met with Charles one more time. He slid a folder across the table. Inside, a formal legal demand for the return of inherited property, notarized and supported by estate documentation. I held it in my hands. And smiled. Saturday morning in Napa Valley was too perfect. Clear skies. 76 degrees. That California breeze that makes you forget your problems, unless you're the one about to cause them. Rachel and I sat at a quiet bistro in San Francisco, sipping coffee and pretending to debate dessert. My phone buzzed. Charles had texted. "Letter delivered. Handed directly to venue coordinator." "Thanks," I replied. Rachel peeked over her sunglasses. "Do you think she's opened it yet?" I smirked. "Not yet. But she will. Probably while getting her makeup done." The demand letter wasn't aggressive. It was clean, concise, professional, but airtight. It cited the original estate documentation, included the line about borrowing with my permission, and gave a firm deadline. The necklace must be returned within 24 hours or legal proceedings would follow. A civil claim for possession of inherited property. Filed. Signed. Ready to go. We also, by pure coincidence, CC'd the venue's legal team, the event coordinator, and the security detail. Because nothing says, "Happy wedding day," like watching your planner panic mid-setup. I didn't have to wait long. At 2:14 p.m., Emily texted. "It happened. Details," I wrote back. Samantha opened the letter while the makeup artist was doing her eyes. She screamed, knocked over a table, accused your mom of sabotaging her moment. The necklace got yanked off mid-freak out. Someone filmed it. It's chaos. I didn't respond. I just turned my phone toward Rachel. She raised her glass. To good timing. From what Emily later told us, the scene unraveled like a reality show on fast forward. Samantha, mid-prep, opened the envelope expecting some cute gift or card. Instead, a legal document with her full name, citing misuse of inherited property. She lost it. Not quietly. She screamed at my mother. "You said he didn't want it!" Then turned to her fiancé with tears and smeared eyeliner, demanding why he hadn't checked first. Then, in front of the photographer, the florist, and two bridesmaids holding bouquets, Samantha yanked the necklace off and hurled it onto the floor. Cracked a heel in the process. Someone's aunt gasped. A groomsman started filming. The planner called for a break. The jazz band kept playing like nothing happened. Meanwhile, Charles had ensured a copy of the letter made its way to the local press, specifically a journalist Rachel had once worked with for a nonprofit gala. The journalist, intrigued by the story of a disputed family heirloom, posted a vague but spicy headline that afternoon. "Vineyard wedding drama, legal battle over necklace interrupts ceremony." No names, but enough breadcrumbs for anyone local to start talking. By evening, a few tweets connected the dots. So did Samantha's face in the background of a now-deleted Instagram story, mid-yell, clutching her bare neck. Apparently, she still walked the aisle, but without the necklace. And with a scowl that didn't match the soft jazz playing behind her. Her guests smiled politely. Her Instagram followers speculated. Her in-laws? Furious. Word got back to Rachel and me that they were deeply embarrassed. Tyler, yep, that Tyler, tried messaging me later that night. Dude, was this really necessary? I didn't reply. I just forwarded his message to Emily with one word. Predictable. Rachel and I finished dinner. Ordered dessert. Took a walk through Chinatown. And later, while curled up in our hotel room, she asked softly, "You okay?" I thought about the necklace. The photos. The years of silence and gaslighting. And I said, "Yeah. For the first time in a while, I really am." Samantha's wedding ended in something she later called an intimate moment of reflection. Translation: she stormed out of her own reception 30 minutes after the cake was cut. The necklace was quietly returned, not to me, but to Charles, with a single-line email from her planner. "We are fulfilling the request. Please confirm receipt." No apology. No explanation. Just surrender. Charles confirmed the return and logged it. I didn't say a word. I wasn't looking for a thank you, just the truth to finally carry weight. But the real fallout began after the last glass of wine was poured. It started with whispers, mutual friends from Boston sending screenshots of Facebook comments. Samantha calling me vindictive. My mom trying to spin the story into a misunderstanding about timelines. Tyler, ever the spineless ambassador, posting, "Sometimes family lets you down, but love wins anyway." Followed by a photo of him hugging Samantha. What love, exactly? The kind that skips a sibling's wedding and lies about it for 2 years? Rachel and I stayed quiet. We didn't need to speak. The necklace, now displayed in a small glass case in our home office, said enough. But then came the text. From my mom. 4 days after Samantha's wedding. "Jason, we need to talk. This is all being blown out of proportion." I didn't answer. An hour later, another one. "We didn't want things to end this way. Please be reasonable." Then, "You've always been more sensitive than your sister. This isn't healthy." That one made Rachel laugh out loud. "She skipped your wedding, gave away your inheritance, let people lie about you, and you're the sensitive one?" That night, the phone calls started. 7. Then 11. Then 20. At 1:13 a.m., my mom left a voicemail. Her voice sounded tired. Sharper than usual. "Jason, you're destroying this family. Over a piece of jewelry? Over 1 day? We made a choice, yes, but it was never meant to hurt you. You should have just talked to us." I played it twice. Then hit save. I thought maybe that would be the end of it. But 2 days later, it happened. My father showed up at our door. I was working from home. Rachel was out on a site visit. I heard the knock, looked through the peephole, and there he was. Standing in khakis and a windbreaker like he was dropping off cookies. I opened the door a crack. He smiled, sheepish, forced. "Hey, kiddo." I said nothing. "I thought maybe we could talk." "About what?" "You know. All this. The drama. Maybe we can let the past go." "You mean the part where you chose Samantha over me?" He flinched. "That's not fair." "Or the part where you gave away Grandma's necklace, lied about it, and helped paint me as unstable to our entire family?" His jaw tightened. "It wasn't like that." "It was exactly like that." We stood there in silence. He shuffled his feet. I could smell his aftershave, the same brand he used when I was a kid. "Funny how nostalgia doesn't cancel pain," he finally said. "Look, your mother and I just want the family back together. We're not getting any younger." I looked him straight in the eyes. "I think you mean you're not getting any invitations anymore." He blinked. "You want back in, now that the photos are ugly and the in-laws are pissed. But you shut the door on me first." He opened his mouth, then closed it. I shut the door. Didn't slam it. Just closed it. Behind me, the house felt warmer. Rachel came home 10 minutes later. I told her everything. She said, "Well, that was overdue." And then she pointed to the necklace. "Next anniversary, I want to wear it." I smiled. "It's yours too." After the door clicked shut behind my father, I waited. For a follow-up knock. A dramatic voicemail. A family group chat explosion. Some long-winded apology about misunderstandings, or heat of the moment, or that's just how families are. But none of it came. The house was still. The phone stayed silent. It felt weird. Then it felt good. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for a bomb to drop, a lie to catch up, or an apology to fall apart halfway through a sentence. The silence, at first unfamiliar, became a kind of music. The kind you only notice after a storm. Rachel and I got back to living. That was always the plan, to keep building forward, not backward. Her event planning business exploded after a viral TikTok from a celebrity client gushing about her flawless wedding magic. Suddenly she had a waitlist 3 months long and brides begging for cancellations. Meanwhile, I was promoted again, senior director. I led strategy for a national rollout, oversaw a hiring wave, and hit my personal savings goals 6 months ahead of schedule. I bought another property, a mid-century fixer in Austin I'd had my eye on for a while. It felt good to make decisions for me again. And that's when the offer came. A relocation package. San Francisco. Bigger scope. Higher pay. A chance to build a division from scratch. Rachel's eyes lit up when I told her, not because of the city, but because of the freedom. New coast, she said, sipping her coffee. Clean slate. We packed up in spring. Left Dallas with 2 moving vans and 0 regrets. San Francisco hit differently. Something about the fog in the morning and the sun by noon. We found a 2-story place in No Valley. Big windows, a tiny balcony, and just enough space for a life that no longer had to shrink around anyone else's expectations. I unpacked the necklace carefully. We kept it in a custom glass display, just as Rachel wanted. Not as a trophy, but as a reminder, some things you fight for because they matter, even when no one else believes they do. Rachel put her hand on my shoulder as I set the case down. It's not about the pearls, she said. I know. It's about the principle. That it belonged to you. And they knew it. And they did. The months that followed were oddly quiet. Samantha had vanished off social media for a while. When she returned, her tone had shifted. Less curated joy, more vague self-help quotes. No more mentions of her husband. Emily later told me they were taking time apart. Her in-laws had cooled off. And Samantha had stopped talking about starting fresh. And was now reevaluating priorities. A familiar code for things fell apart, and I'm trying to rebrand it. Tyler never reached out again. Not even a birthday text. Not that I was expecting one. He'd always been the kind of friend who disappeared the second the shine wore off. Some people mistake proximity for loyalty. I don't anymore. And my parents? Still nothing. No cards. No updates. No sudden confessions. Just the digital version of dead air. I wondered for a moment if it hurt them. If they sat at dinners and avoided my name. If Mom checked my LinkedIn in secret, trying to figure out where I went. If Dad told himself he did what he thought was best, while ignoring how deeply he'd failed me. I'll never know. But I've stopped needing to. Rachel and I celebrated our anniversary quietly. No pomp, no posturing. We dressed up, booked a rooftop dinner overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge, and clinked glasses under soft string lights. She wore the necklace. Not because of its history, but because it looked damn good with her dress. At one point, a young waiter, nervous but eager, asked, "Is this your first year together?" Rachel smiled. "Not our first year together. But our first year free." He blinked, unsure how to respond, then said, "That's the best kind." He wasn't wrong. Later, we walked hand in hand through the quiet city. Past a bakery where a family was mid-fight, a teenage girl shouting, a mom pulling out her phone, a dad trying not to be noticed. For a split second, I felt something tighten in my chest. Then Rachel's fingers squeezed mine. "Don't," she said softly. "You're here now. With me." I looked at her. At the necklace. At the life we built entirely without the people who were supposed to love us most. And I knew she was right. That was the final year I gave any part of myself to people who'd already sold me out. Not out of anger. Out of peace. 1 year later, to the day, Rachel and I were back in San Francisco. Same anniversary. Same restaurant. Same rooftop table, booked under the same alias because the hostess always forgot we'd been there before. She wore the necklace again. It shimmered in the candlelight, elegant and quiet. No longer a symbol of stolen inheritance, now a reminder of everything we'd reclaimed. Halfway through dessert, my phone buzzed. Blocked number. I didn't answer. Then it buzzed again. This time, a voicemail. And then another. Then a text, from a number I hadn't saved, but I didn't need to. The tone was unmistakable. Jason. It's Mom. Please call me. We need to talk. It's important. Rachel glanced at the screen, then looked at me. You good? I nodded. Better than ever. We paid the check and walked out onto the street, the air crisp and just a little dramatic, like it knew something had shifted. Later that night, after a bottle of wine and way too many photos on our tiny balcony, I finally listened to the voicemail. Mom sounded nervous. Forced calm. Hi, sweetheart. I know it's been a while. I didn't know if I should call, but your father's not doing well. And I thought maybe you'd want to know. Maybe we could talk. I deleted it. Then I opened my drawer and pulled out the last thing they'd ever sent me, Samantha's wedding invitation, still in its box. Thick, gold-trimmed. Pointless. I took the necklace off Rachel's neck, just for a moment, and set it beside the invite. One, they tried to erase me from. The other, they tried to steal. And both, in the end, meant nothing without me. I slid the drawer shut. Locked it. And never opened it again.